Hello friends, welcome back to the lectures of thermodynamics. In the last lecture we have seen the steady flow energy equation, and in this lecture we are going to see how to apply the steady flow energy equation to various flow processes or flow devices, or say we can say open systems, right? So let us start with the steady flow energy equation. The title is Application of steady flow energy equation to various processes, or say various devices. Let us start up with the first one. As the turbine. Let us apply the steady flow energy equation to the turbine, the gas turbine, also the steam turbine. Now, before I start to apply that steady flow energy equation to the turbine, let us understand what is turbine first of all. So, turbine, the symbolic representation of turbine is like this. The turbine takes in the fluid which is at very high enthalpy, that is, it will have very high temperature, very high pressure, and this is say the point 1, and it relieves or say leaves the fluid which is at lower enthalpy, say it will have low temperature, low pressure compared to the pressure and temperature at state 1. At the same time, the turbine gives out some mechanical work. So mechanical work output it gives out in the form of rotation of the shaft. So here is W, the work coming out of it. Next, there are some assumptions that we need to make while applying the steady flow energy equation to the turbine. Since we know the steady flow energy equation is, what is steady flow energy equation? I would like to write down the steady flow energy equation as H1 plus GZ1 plus C1 square by 2 plus Q dot is what the heat transfer rate taking place across the boundary of the system, is equals to H2 plus GZ2 plus C2 square by 2 plus W dot, right? So out of that, the left hand side of this equation represents the total energy of the fluid before entering into the turbine. This is the turbine T, whereas the right hand side of this equation represents the total energy possessed by the fluid at section 2 when the fluid is leaving the turbine. Now, what are these terminologies? We have seen this H1 is the enthalpy of the fluid at section 1 or at point 1. GZ1 is the potential head at section 1. C1 square by 2 is the velocity head, that is the kinetic energy per unit mass. This is the potential energy per unit mass. This is the enthalpy per unit mass. Q dot is the heat transfer taking place across the system boundary. It means across the turbine. And we know that across the turbine, how much is the heat transfer rate taking place over here? Q dot over here is 0, since we consider that the turbine surface is insulated and there is no loss of heat taking place across the turbine boundary. And H2 GZ2 plus C2 square by 2 and plus W are the corresponding terms across the section 2. Now, out of that, if you check out one by one term, C1 has a significant value, so cannot be neglected. Now GZ1 and GZ2 are the potential head, or I can say it is the potential energy per unit mass of the fluid. Now if you look at any of the steam turbine or gas turbine and the size of that, and if you check down any of the datum level from here, this is the reference datum level. If I check out the height of section 2 and height of section 1, they are not much different. I mean, they are very close to each other. So, I mean, if this is maybe 10 meters, so this will maybe 10.1 meter. So, difference of these two is not much higher. So, almost these both the terms GZ1 and GZ2 are almost similar, very close to each other. So, these two can be cancelled from both the sides. Next, C1 square by 2, that is the kinetic energy per unit mass at section 1, and C2 square by 2. So, almost the flow rate across section 1 and section 2 are being the same. And if the diameter of both the pipes at inlet and outlet are same, then the velocities will be also same. So velocity, or say the kinetic head are almost same and can be get cancelled. And the next one is Q dot. We have already taken that Q dot, that is the heat transfer taking place across the turbine boundary, that we have already considered it to be 0. So that is also neglected. So what I am getting is, this is H1 is equals to H2 plus W. So I can write down this W is equals to H1 minus H2. And this is what the application of steady flow energy equation to a turbine. This may be the steam turbine, and this is also for the gas turbine. So for both the turbines, this equation is applicable, and this equation will clearly tell you that rest of the terms, that is the potential head, kinetic head and the heat transfer, are negligible. The only dominant values are enthalpy at section 1, enthalpy at section 2, and the work output. And the work work done across the shaft is equals to difference in the enthalpies of the working substance, whether it may be the steam in case of steam engine, or a gas, any working substance in case of the gas turbine. So this is what the application of steady flow energy equation to a turbine. Now let us see the next one. The application of steady flow energy equation to another device, say number 2, boiler. Now all of you know, boiler is a device which is having water into it, say somewhat water into it. This is the boiler, and this is what the level of water, and heat is provided over here, and with the aid of this heat the water evaporates and get converted into the steam over here, and the steam can be taken out for the different application, like steam to run the steam turbine, or say to run the steam engine. Next, now we are going to apply the steady flow energy equation. What is steady flow energy equation? This is H1 plus GZ1 plus C1 square by 2 plus Q dot is equals to H2 plus GZ2 plus C2 square by 2 plus W dot. So this is the steady flow energy equation, and all of we know that in case of boiler we provide the heat. Since we burn the fuel, we feed the fuel as well as air, and we burn the gases over here. So in short, I can say that there is a transfer of heat taking place across the system boundary, and that is Q dot. Now if this is the transfer of heat taking place, what about the rest of the parameters? The rest of the parameters, apart from that, water will be coming into this, water will be coming in through pipe, and it will have, say like at section 1, and steam is going out of it, say this is the section 2. So across section 1 and 2, if you check out the potential head, how much is the potential energy per unit mass? Almost same, no change in that. I mean, even if there is a change, that change will be, difference will be negligible, so we can cancel out the potential energy per unit mass across section 1 as well as across section 2. Next one, the kinetic energy per unit mass, that is also almost same. The work done, is there any work transfer taking place? I mean, is there any work transfer taking place across the system boundary, that is the boundary of the boiler? I think no, since in case of boiler it simply produces the steam. No work is produced by the boiler like in case of steam turbine, or no work is absorbed by the boiler in case of like compressor. So work transfer across the system boundary is 0. So this W dot is also 0. So what's remaining now? We are having this H1 plus Q dot is equals to H2. So I can say that this Q dot is equals to H2 minus H1, which is nothing but the difference in the enthalpy of the working substance across section 2 and across section 1. Obviously heat is get added over here, it will be positive, and that you can check out. H2 will be obviously more than H1, since H2 is the enthalpy of the working substance, that is water over here, and water when it is coming out of water in the sense H2O which is coming out of the boiler, it is in the superheated state, whereas H1 is the enthalpy of H2O which is in the liquid state. So obviously H1 is less than H2, so this term is positive. So this is what the application of steady flow energy equation to the boiler. So let us see the next device. The next device is application of steady flow energy equation to condenser. Now all of you have seen what is condenser. Condenser is a device which takes down the steam from the turbine, steam at low pressure, low temperature, but in vapor state. That steam is get cooled in the condenser and that steam is condensed, that is liquefied, and that liquid is taken out of the condenser. So that's what the function of condenser is. Function of condenser is simply to condense the moisture, condense the steam which is coming out of the turbine by cooling it by certain cooling media. So this is the figure for the condenser. So this is the block diagram of condenser, and into the condenser I can say if this is the condenser, then the steam coming in at section 1 and the water is coming out at section 2, and there is somewhat cooling media over here. This will be cooling water. I mean, it can be anything. It can be air cooled also, it can be water cooled also, it can be any other cooling system also. So application of steady flow energy equation to the condenser. Now let us see the steady flow energy equation, that is H1 plus GZ1 plus C1 square by 2 plus Q dot is equals to H2 plus GZ2 plus C2 square by 2 plus W dot. So out of that, if you look at the condenser, the potential head, if I take down any of the datum level, if I check out Z1, that is the potential energy, potential head, and Z2 as the potential head across section 2, both are almost same. For a condenser, there is no difference in the height for the inlet and outlet from the datum level. So GZ1 and GZ2 are almost same, so can be cancelled. Even the velocity the velocity head, or we can say the kinetic energy per unit mass, are also same across section 1 and 2. Obviously, there is no work transfer taking place across the system boundary, that is the condenser. Condenser do not produce the work, do not absorb the work. So work done is also 0, but there exists heat transfer, non-zero value of heat transfer rate, since we are providing some cooling media over here. So cooling media is absorbing the heat from the steam and taking it out. So the heat is rejected by the condenser. So Q will have a non-zero value for the condenser. So Q cannot be eliminated. And obviously enthalpy at section 1 and enthalpy at section 2 will be different, since heat is get rejected by the steam. So the final equation is, this is H1 plus Q dot is equals to H2. So what I am getting for Q dot is equals to, this is H2 minus H1, and this is the application of steady flow energy equation to a condenser. See, in the previous case for the boiler we have seen one equation. For the boiler, if I am not wrong, Q dot, the heat transfer rate, was equals to H2 minus H1, almost same equation for the boiler. So for the boiler, this is the equation. For the condenser, this is the equation. So there is no difference as such. If you simply look at these two equations, Q dot is equal to H2 minus H1 is the equation is the application of steady flow energy equation to the condenser, and if we apply the steady flow energy equation to the boiler, we are getting the same equation. So there is no difference in these two equations as such if we just observe by the rough side. But it is not so, since in case of boiler, what happens is, in case of boiler, if this is the boiler, the heat is given to the boiler, that is Q, the heat is flowing into the system. Whereas in case of condenser, heat is rejected by the condenser to the surrounding, right? And we have already seen the sign conventions. The sign convention says that for any of the system, if heat is given to the system, say this is any system, any thermodynamic system, if heat is given to the system, then that is the positive heat transfer is positive. If heat is rejected by the system, that is the negative heat, minus Q. If the work is absorbed by the system, that is the negative work. And if the work is given out by the system, that is the positive work. This is plus W. So you need to remember this sign convention. This is very important parameter. So, we have already seen that sign conventions. But again, while we are talking about the numericals, when we will solve the numericals based upon the steady flow energy equation, we will see the sign conventions used while applying the steady flow energy equation and the first law of thermodynamics to any of the system. These are the sign conventions. If the system is absorbing the heat, that is positive. If it is rejecting the heat, that is negative. If the system is absorbing the work, it is negative. If it is delivering the work, that is positive. And in these two equations, you can see that, you need not to worry about if you simply follow the equations. Just take down this H2 minus H1. So H2 minus H1, the enthalpy at state 2 and enthalpy at state 1. So heat is taken out from the steam, so the enthalpy of the working substance will be get reduced. So obviously in this case, this H2 will be less than H1, and hence I can write down Q will be negative. H2 is less than H1, so Q will be negative, since heat is transferred, heat is rejected by the system to the surrounding. Whereas in this case, in case of boiler, while water is going in and steam is going out, water at state 1 and steam at state 2, obviously here this H2 will be more than H1, and hence if H2 is more than H1, I can surely say that Q is positive. It means heat is added to the system. You can see heat is added to the system is positive. So that is the difference between these two equations. In examination, don't get confused. Both are having the same formula. Then how do they differ? They differ in the processes. This boiler is a heat addition process, and this condenser is the heat removal process. So let's go ahead for the next application, next device. The next device is number 4, compressor. Now you know the compressor used for the compressing air. Say this is the compressor. So the reciprocating compressor. And this is the crank which is rotating about the crankshaft like this. And it is taking up the air and delivering the air to the system. So air is taken in, air is given out. So this is the section 1, this is the section 2. Now you have seen the compressor. While the air is get compressed, you might have seen compressor in case of any garage while you need to feel the air into your into the tire of your vehicle. So in the compressor, we need to run the compressor by providing somewhat mechanical work. So work is transferred over here. So work is absorbed by the system. So work is transferred to the working substance, first thing. Second thing, while the air is get compressed, the temperature of air will increase, and as the temperature of air is increased, it will start to transfer the heat to the surroundings. So heat transfer is also present over there. Whereas the potential head and the velocity head are almost same, so can be cancelled out. So let us see the steady flow energy equation. Steady flow energy equation is H1 plus GZ1 plus C1 square by 2 plus Q dot is equals to H2 plus GZ2 plus C2 square by 2 plus W dot. So out of that, if you look at the compressor, the potential head across section 1, across section 2, both are being the same. Z1 is equal to Z2, so GZ1 and GZ2 can be get cancelled. Even the velocity heads are negligibly, there is a negligible difference in between two velocity heads, or say the kinetic energy per unit mass, so they will be get cancelled. So the remaining terms will be H1 plus Q dot is equals to H2 plus W dot. So what I can say is that W dot is equals to, this is H1 minus H2 plus Q dot. So the work transferred, or say the work absorbed by the compressor, is equals to the difference in the enthalpy of the working substance, or say the gas, plus the heat transfer taking place across the compressor boundary. And this is the application of steady flow energy equation to the compressor. The next application is of a pump. Number 5, hydraulic pump. Instead of saying simply pump, hydraulic pump. Now let us see how to apply the steady flow energy equation to a hydraulic pump. Now all of we know the hydraulic pump work in the manner to lift up the water from the sump and deliver it to the delivery tank. Say this is the data, this is the liquid level, this is the strainer at the base across the foot wall. Now this is the pump. Now the water is delivered at certain height. How much is the height? I will say this height as Z2, this height as Z2, and this height as Z1. And this is the pump, and obviously we need to give the mechanical work input to the pump. While the centrifugal pump is running, we need to provide the mechanical work to the centrifugal pump with the aid of either some electrical motor or so some internal combustion engine or say any of the prime mover. But until and unless we provide some mechanical work to the pump, it cannot lift up the water from the sump to the top tank, right? So there will be non-zero value of work done. Now let us see what other parameters are there. Let us apply the steady flow energy equation. H1 plus GZ1 plus C1 square by 2 plus Q is equals to H2 plus GZ2 plus C2 square by 2 plus W dot. So out of that, if you check out the water, if the pump is lifting water, obviously either water or any other liquid, if the liquid is get lifted from the sump and deliver it to the tank, there is no change in the temperature, no change in the pressure. Since here the pressure is atmospheric and at here also pressure is atmospheric. Here the temperature is T atmospheric, temperature is also same. Here is also temperature is same. Here is also temperature is same. So no change in the pressure, no change in the temperature, the enthalpy of that working substance, that is liquid, will be the same, and hence H1 and H2 will be get cancelled. If I consider this as section 2 and this as section 1, this is section 1 and this is section 2, then I can say if both the pipes are having the same diameter and obviously the discharge will be the same, then the velocity of the fluid across section 1 and 2 will be also same. So this term will be also cancelled. This term will be also cancelled. Next, in the centrifugal pump, no heat transfer is there. Heat transfer taking place over here is 0. Since centrifugal pump में कोई heat transfer होता ही नहीं है. So Q dot is also 0. So what is remaining? That is W. I think this GZ1 is equals to GZ2 plus W dot, that is the work transfer rate, and hence I can write down W dot is equals to G into Z1 minus Z2. Now let me highlight this, let me correct up this equation. I have done something wrong, actually not wrong, but the sign conventions I didn't followed. So what is that? Across section 1, if we take down the section 1 over here, I mean very close to water over here, this is the section 1, and section 2 is at the delivery pipe. So, and if I take down the datum to be over here at the same level, this is the datum, then the potential head has to be measured from this datum level. So potential head across section 1 is 0, here it is 0, this is also 0. Whereas the potential head at point 2 or say section 2 will be this Z1 plus Z2. So I can write down this is 0 is equals to GZ2, means the Z2 is what? The potential head of the section 2. So that will be G Z1 plus Z2 plus W dot. Hence I can write down W dot is equals to minus of G Z1 plus Z2, and this is the application of steady flow energy equation to the hydraulic pump. So let us see the next application. The next application is of nozzle. What was the number? I think it was 6. Now nozzle means, all of we know, nozzle is a device which is used in case of mechanical systems to increase the speed of the fluid. For example, if I nozzle का एक general idea दे देता हूँ मैं तुम्हें, I think, what is that? I think all of you are aware about this. All of you are aware about this. This is what I will say, this is a simple pump to inject the liquid or say the color at the festival Holi. What you do is, to this pump, you press up the plunger over here, you apply the force over here. Once you apply the force, that force is transmitted with the aid of this link to this plunger or say this piston, and that piston creates pressure over here. Now this fluid, this liquid has somewhat pressure energy in it, but we want that pressure energy to get converted into the kinetic energy. That is the fluid, we want that fluid to gain some velocity. Once it gets some velocity, due to the virtue of that velocity, it can go far, further distance, whatever the target is. So while we are pressing it, so the pressure energy over here is get converted into the kinetic energy. And this is done with the aid of this particular nozzle, and this is the nozzle. Nozzle is a device which converts the pressure energy or enthalpy of the fluid into the kinetic energy. In short, it increases the speed of the fluid. Now this is the converging tube nozzle. We say this as the convergent nozzle, in which the area of cross section goes on reducing. There are various types of nozzles that also we will see in short. So here you got the idea about the nozzle. What is a nozzle exactly? This is a device which converts the pressure energy into the kinetic energy. Now there are various types of nozzle. This is convergent tube nozzle. Convergent tube nozzle. Now there is one more type of nozzle which is known as divergent tube nozzle. This is divergent tube nozzle. There is one more nozzle known to be convergent divergent tube nozzle. This will be the convergent divergent tube nozzle. This is convergent divergent tube nozzle. And there is one more type of nozzle, that is plain tube nozzle. This is the plain tube nozzle where the area of cross section remains. This is plain tube nozzle. So rarely we come across this nozzle. Mainly we do deal up with the convergent tube nozzle. This is mostly applicable for the liquids. This is applicable for the gases. This is applicable for the gases, and that too with very high pressure. Whenever we need to have very high speed of the fluid, the speed of the fluid, if the fluid direction of flow of fluid is in this way, if we want the speed of the fluid to be very high, then we have to shift up to convergent divergent tube nozzle. With the aid of this nozzle only we can have the supersonic speed, that is speed equal to the speed of sound. Otherwise, with the aid of this tube we cannot have that high speed. Anyway, this is all about the nozzle used in case of steam turbine or say the gas turbine. The types of nozzles and the details of that you may see in case of the compressible fluids. How does the compressible fluid behaves while it is flowing through the nozzle, and that too all the types of nozzles, that is the convergent tube, divergent tube, and the convergent divergent tube nozzle. Now let us see what is nozzle and how to apply the steady flow energy equation. We have already seen what is nozzle. Nozzle is a device which converts the pressure energy into the kinetic energy while the fluid is flowing in this way. Remember that there is no transfer of heat taking place across the nozzle boundary. The heat transfer rate is 0. There is no work transfer taking place over here. Work transfer is also 0. Now, what is the steady flow energy equation? H1 plus GZ1 plus C1 square by 2 plus Q dot is equals to H2 plus GZ2 plus C2 square by 2 plus W dot. So out of that, Q dot is 0, heat transfer is 0, work transfer is 0. Both the terms are cancelled. Next, the potential head nozzle is very small in size and length also. So the difference in the potential head across its inlet and outlet, Z1 and Z2 almost same, so they can be cancelled. So what is remaining now? The remaining terms will be, this is H1 plus C1 square by 2 is equals to H2 plus C2 square by 2. So out of that I can write down H1 minus H2 is equals to C2 square minus C1 square by 2. If I take down the C1 square by 2 over that side, what I can get for C2 square minus C1 square, that will be equals to twice of H1 minus H2. So if I take down the C1 square over that side, what I will get for C2 square? C2 square will be equals to, this is twice of H1 minus H2 plus C1 square. So finally what we can get the equation for the velocity at the outlet of nozzle, that will be C2 will be equals to under root of twice of H1 minus H2 plus C1 square, and this is the equation for the speed or so the velocity of the fluid coming out of the nozzle. The parameter which may be get cancelled, that we have seen which parameters are get cancelled, and the dominant parameters are over here. Now again out of that, if I consider C1 to be very close to 0, since in case of nozzle at the inlet, it has very high pressure and very small velocity. The velocity is negligibly small. For example, if you check out any steam turbine, the speed of the steam at the inlet is maybe in terms of few meter, 1 to 10 meter per second, whereas at the outlet the speed is in the range of few hundred meter per second. So, and the square of that is again small. So this term also we can neglect, and if I neglect the velocity at inlet, what I will get for C2 will be equals to under root of twice of H1 minus H2. So whatever the drop in the enthalpy taking place across the two sections of the nozzle, so the velocity of the fluid, the gain in the velocity is due to the virtue of the drop of the potential, the enthalpy of the fluid across the two sections of the nozzle. So that's what the application of steady flow energy equation to a nozzle. Apart from this, there are many other devices that we are going to see in thermodynamics, but I will suggest you to practice up at your home. Now with the aid of these examples, you understood how the steady flow energy equation is applied to various processes. There are some parameters which can be neglected and can be cancelled out from the steady flow energy equations, and the remaining parameters you need to put down into the final equation. So that is what the application of steady flow energy equation to different thermodynamic systems, that is open systems. Now let us move ahead for the next topic. We have seen the first law of thermodynamics. We have seen application of first law of thermodynamics to close the system. We have seen flow work. We have seen steady flow energy equation. That is again one more form of the first law of thermodynamics, which is applicable to the open system, and we have applied it too, right? But there are some of the instances, some of the processes, some of the day-to-day life phenomena in which the first law of thermodynamics don't have any answer to that phenomena. I mean, it cannot explain why does that happen or say why that doesn't happen. Now these are listed out to be the limitations of first law of thermodynamics. Limitations of first law of thermodynamics. Now let us see what is this first law of thermodynamics first. The first law of thermodynamics states that the cyclic integral of dq is proportional to the cyclic integral of dw. Or I can say the cyclic integral of dq is equals to cyclic integral of du plus cyclic integral of dw. So in terms of finite difference between these quantities, I can write down this equation as like this, right? The first law of thermodynamics states that the energy can neither be created nor it can be destroyed, but it can be transferred from one form into another form. The total amount of energy of the universe or an isolated system remains constant. So this is what the first law of thermodynamics. Whereas the first law doesn't say that in what direction that energy flows. For example, if I take down one simple object, so like one object over here, and if I push this object ahead, so somewhat force is applied and that object is get displaced from here to here so as to have the displacement in this direction, so displacement is x. So somewhat work is done. So work done will be equals to F bar dot x bar, and that is equals to, if both the force and the displacement are in the same direction, then cos of that angle will be 1 and W will be equals to simply F into x. Now the question is, where does that work goes after doing the work? Since the work is done by someone by pushing that object from this place to that place, so work is done. Work is one of the form of the energy. So it will have somewhat value, it will have somewhat non-zero value, maybe 1 joule, 10 joule, 100 joule, 1000 joule, something. Whatever the value that work done might have, so where does that work done go after doing the work? Since the first law of thermodynamics says that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. So whatever the work that we have done, it shouldn't be get destroyed. So it must be get converted into some other form of energy. So where that energy goes, where does that work done goes? That work done goes into the internal energy of the surrounding, that is this, surrounding and the system also. The surface on which this object is sliding, there will be somewhat friction, and the frictional force is also acting onto it in the reverse direction, and due to the friction the heat will be get produced over here. Heat will be get produced into this object, heat will be get produced into this object also. So whatever the work that you have done, that work done is get converted into the heat energy into the block as well as into the table. And apart from that, there will be somewhat sound energy also. There will be somewhat internal increase in the internal energy of this block and the surrounding air also, if we count up the energy up to very minute level. It's fine, up to here it's fine, the first law is correct. But if I want whatever the heat is get produced, I want that heat to be get converted back into the mechanical work. Is that heat able to convert itself into the mechanical work? It's not at all possible. This is highly irreversible process. So why doesn't that heat cannot see? The work done can be 100% of the work done can be converted into the 100% of the mechanical work. Sorry, 100% of the mechanical work is converted into the 100% of the heat energy. But same heat energy cannot be get converted in the mechanical work. This is not possible. 100% conversion is not possible. So why it is not possible? The first law of thermodynamics don't have any answer to that question. Next, now in some of the cases, for example, one specific case in which there is one system in which it can absorb the heat Q and gives out some mechanical work. See, in this case, whatever the work done we were having, that was equals to Q, the heat produced, also heat transferred. But if I'm having one engine like this which can absorb the heat, steam engine let us say, that steam engine can absorb the heat from the surrounding outside the heat source, but not able to convert that entire heat energy into the mechanical work. So this work done is not equal to Q. Perhaps work is always less than Q. So why 100% conversion is not possible? The first law of thermodynamics don't have the answer to this question. Right? Work energy to the heat energy conversion, 100% conversion is possible. But why not the heat energy can't get converted into the mechanical work? The first law is unable to explain that. Apart from that, the direction of a process, that is also not defined by the first law of thermodynamics. So these are what some of the limitations of the first law of thermodynamics. And to overcome the first law of thermodynamics, we need to shift up to the next law, that is the second law of thermodynamics. And in the second law of thermodynamics, all these limitations are overcome. And in the second law says why this conversion is not possible, 100% conversion is not possible. Why the reversal of that particular process is not possible. So some of the limitations of first law of thermodynamics are overcome in the second law of thermodynamics. So that second law of thermodynamics is given by various statements. Out of all two statements are very famous. One is the Kelvin-Planck statement and second is the Clausius statement. So these two statements we will see into the next lecture. Thank you.